What's going on, guys, and welcome to another Doctor Who review. Today I'm going to be reviewing the 10th Doctor David Tennant story, The Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. It is another two-parter here, and one that I think has pretty mixed feelings, actually. Some people quite like this one, some people don't really like this one. It is, of course, the first time we see the Sontarans in the new series of Doctor Who. First time since the classic series, of course. And yeah, they're a villain that popped up a few times in the classic series, not loads of times, but I think like 4 separate stories they were in. And yeah, this is the first time we get to see them in the new series, and it's, I believe, one of only really, I guess, 2 solely Sontaran stories. So yeah, anyway, let's get started with the cast. David Tennant as the 10th Doctor. Yep, he is really good. It's what I just keep saying every time. There's not really much else to say here, but once again, and it's just all the same stuff. He has funny moments. He has serious moments. The "Are you my mummy" moment is really funny. The moment where he's flicking through the TV channels to try and distract the Sontarans because he doesn't want to listen to them chanting. To the rapport with not only Catherine Tate, but of course Freema Agyeman as Martha in this one as well. Also with the character of Ross, whoever the actor is who plays him, he has great rapport with him as well. So all round, as usual, really great stuff for David Tennant. Catherine Tate as Donna Noble, also very good here. She has a small part where she is away from the Doctor, and actually the Doctor and Martha kind of are together for a bit more of this at some points. Catherine Tate's good. I mean, she always is. Some stuff here with, of course, Wilf and with her mum as well. And also, you know, Donna and Martha together for the first time as well. So that's interesting to see. And yeah, all in all, good stuff from Catherine Tate. And of course, Freema Agyeman as Martha Jones. She makes a return here after she left at the end of Series 3. And yeah, she's pretty much just back to how she used to be, although she's basically a soldier now. I think she's still in the medical field, but working at unit, so it's a little bit of a different Martha, but she's pretty much the same character and does a great job. So we'll start off with the Sontaran Stratagem. Martha calls the Doctor. So at the end of Series 3, Martha gave the Doctor her phone so that he could be called if need be. She said at the end of that episode, at the end of that series, if that thing ever rings, you answer it. And yeah, she calls him here. It's great that there was actually a follow-up to that, which is really, really good. So I'm surely they were planning that. Surely they'd already had that planned, or at least were thinking about it. But yeah, she calls up the Doctor because she wants him to investigate some weird stuff going on Earth. Martha now works for UNIT. So yep, Martha is now a part of UNIT. I don't know if this is set before or after she has a little bit of a stint with Torchwood. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like it's probably after. I actually really don't know, to be completely honest with you. But yeah, she's now working for UNIT. I don't think she ever really worked for Torchwood, but she was in a few episodes of Torchwood. Helping them out for a bit. But yeah, she works for UNIT here. She's married, or at least engaged, to the character of, I think his name is actually Tom. It's the guy played by Tom Ellis, who was in the Last of the Time Lords at the end of Series 3. And she briefly mentions that, but we don't actually get to see him. And we know that doesn't end up going anywhere in the end. He mysteriously vanishes, and then she gets with Mickey, apparently, which is a whole other story we'll get to later on. But yeah, she works for UNIT now, so that's an interesting development of her character. Simultaneous deaths around the world, all linked to Atmos. Yeah, so there's this Atmos thing, which is a navigation kind of GPS system that's in pretty much all cars. It's a thing now where they mention it that every new car that's built, this Atmos system gets put into it. And yeah, there's been all these deaths seemingly linked to this Atmos. So that's what Martha wants the Doctor to figure out here, because she thinks that there's something weird, something potentially alien going on here. The Sontarans are linked to Atmos. So yes, we eventually figure out that it's the Sontarans that have some sort of, they are involved in this somehow. They haven't necessarily made the Atmos system. That is that guy Luke, the young guy Luke, which we'll get onto a bit later. But the Sontarans have something to do with this as well. So they've got a plan in the background, something weird going on. Martha is taken by the hypnotized soldiers. So a couple of the unit soldiers get hypnotized. I think it's hypnotized and not just, because there's obviously that kind of clone body, which we'll get onto later. But I think these two, they just get hypnotized by the Sontarans, and are now working for the Sontarans. And yeah, they take Martha away to do something with. We don't know at the time what that is going to be. Martha has been cloned. We get to figure out pretty quickly what that is. There's, of course, when we first see these two unit soldiers before they get, hypnotized or whatever by the Sontarans, they see this figure, this thing in this kind of bath, this gooey bath water. And it turns out that is a clone. And they're going to use Martha they're going to make a clone of Martha so that they can, get behind, they basically have someone at unit to, basically go undercover. The Doctor stops the car from driving into the river by telling it to do it, and it does the opposite. So, a little bit of a weird wording there, but basically all the unit vehicles also have this Atmos thing on them, which is crazy. I mean, Ross does say that, basically every new vehicle has to have this system in it, and they're like, but seriously, like, you've got this problem with this Atmos thing, and all your vehicles have it. Like, it just seems kind of crazy to me. And the Doctor even says that. But they get in the car, and the car tries to drive them into a river to kill them. And basically, this GPS it does the opposite of whatever you tell it to do. So if you tell it not to drive into the river, like tell it go straight, or tell it to turn right, well, it's going to go straight. You know what I mean. Apparently, it tells it to do. It'll do the opposite of what you tell it to do. So the Doctor specifically says to it, it says do drive into the river. Drive into the river. So it gets confused and it doesn't drive into the river. Now, it made for a funny little scene where they jump out of it thinking there's going to be a massive explosion, and there's just this tiny little spark. Funny scene. Love that. And the Doctor's he's like, oh, I thought it was going to be a bit bigger than that. He seems really disappointed by it. That's a funny scene. But I think it's really stupid that the Doctor just says, don't drive into the river. Oh, no, he says, do drive into the river. So it doesn't, because it's doing the opposite of what he says. But it's like, I don't know. It just seems really stupid. And like, I get what they were going for, but like, I don't know. There's just something about it that I don't like. All the Atmos devices are activated at once. So at the end of the episode, these Atmos systems start giving off a gas, and every car with Atmos has now been activated, and the world is basically getting gassed. And the episode ends with Wilf in the car as the system's going off, and he's being choked to death. And the Doctor doesn't know what to do to stop it. And it's a pretty cool cliffhanger. But at the same time, and even my partner said this when she was watching it with me, she said, why doesn't he just like break a window? Like, it's so easy to get him out of there, but he just doesn't. Onto the Poison Sky. Now, I haven't actually got a note for this, but of course at the start of the episode, Sky is Sylvester. What's her name? Donna's mum. I can't remember her name. Sylvia. I think it's Sylvia, right? She ends up breaking the window and saving Wilf because the Doctor apparently couldn't figure that out, which I thought was ridiculous. But then the next point I have here is the Doctor changing channel on the Sontarans. I mentioned this a little bit before. It's a really funny scene where he starts talking to the Sontarans and they start doing their Sontar thing, which is a thing of the new series. It's kind of like, the Cybermen have the catchphrase of delete now, which they never had in the classic series. The Sontarans apparently have the catchphrase of Sontar, which is a little bit silly, but the Doctor thinks so as well, and he just changes channel on them, and some like kids TV show comes up, and it's a really, really funny little scene. I love that. Martha can turn off the missile launch using her phone. This is another thing that I'm like, how? I mean, I guess she has some sort of authority, but why does she just... They have a missile launch. This is unit. they have a missile launch going, and one of their employees, who's just like a nurse. I mean, I guess maybe because of the whole, thing with the doctor, the history with the doctor, she has slightly higher, I don't know, slightly higher authority or whatever. But the fact that she just has basically an app on her phone that can just turn off the missile launch or start the missile launch is, I just think, really just like, why? Why? The Sontarans come down to Earth and start killing. So this is the scene where, yep, the Sontarans are on Earth. They start killing everyone. They start going, oh, this isn't sport. This is pest control. Or is that the Dalek one? I can't remember. One of them. This isn't war. This is sport. I think it's a sport one that's the Sontarans. It's the pest control one that was the Daleks, right? They were like, this isn't war, this is pest control, when they were killing the Cybermen in Doomsday. So a very similar line there. But yeah, it's a cool little scene of them shooting everyone, and basically everybody dying, and a couple of Sontarans end up dying as well, and one of them dies, and it actually seems happy that it's dying in battle, which is kind of funny. The Sontarans tricked Luke. So Luke thinks he's working with the Sontarans this whole time. I think his whole thing is that, he wants to... The Sontarans have promised him and his group of scientists that they're going to go to a new planet or something and basically start the human race over again with all these really smart people, and that's Luke's whole thing. And then, of course, all his scientists turn on him because they realize what's going on here, that he basically wants to kill everybody off on the Earth and only have the smart, have a new Earth with only smart people, and he will be their leader. And they're not a big fan of that, so they all leave him. So then Luke goes back up to the Sontarans, and the Sontarans end up saying, yeah, we were never actually gonna do that. We were just gonna destroy your planet, destroy you. And once they basically had him for the Atmos to kind of install the Atmos system. Once that was done, they were kind of done with Luke, and they were just going to bin him off. So Luke gets very annoyed by this. The Sontaran door controls are pretty unsecure. It's a nice, funny little scene when Donna's in the Sontaran ship, and she is trying to make her way through after she gets put up there with the TARDIS, and she has to get through a door, and she's like, oh, but it's only 3 fingers because it's the Sontaran's handprint thing for the door. And the doctor's like, you have 3 fingers, and she does that nice little moment, but at the same time, that's really how simple it is to just get through their door systems. I mean, usually a handprint on a door is like, your handprint is in like a database, so that not any person can just go up and do it. But apparently with this, you just need to have your fingers in the shape of Sontaran's fingers, and you can get through. Martha talking to her clone. This is a nice little scene where there's 2 Marthas on screen, and the real Martha's talking to the clone Martha, and it is actually a very sad scene in a lot of ways. You've got the clones dying because the Doctor has woken up the real Martha, and the clone can only really survive when the real Martha is asleep or in some sort of coma, cryogenic thing or whatever. And yeah, so she's dying off, and the fact Martha just goes and takes the ring off her, and it's a very sad but also quite dark moment. The Sontarans are turning Earth into a clone farm, so that is their big plan. They're going to take over the Earth, they're going to kill everybody, and then they're gonna, was it that the gas is actually something to turn people into Sontarans, or to grow Sontarans on the planet, something like that. They basically want to turn the Earth into a breeding ground for Sontarans, so that they can multiply their numbers massively, so that they can go out and win the war with the Rutans, which has been going on for however many thousands and millions of years. The Doctor ignites the gas to destroy it. Really cool visual. I like the scene. It's a little bit basic. It's just like, oh, well, I'm just going to ignite this up, and there we go. We fixed the day. And then after that, the Sontarans decide that, what, if we can't have this planet as for what we want it for, we will just destroy it. But then, of course, someone's got to save that as well, stop that from happening. But yeah, although I like the visual of the sky, going from all dark and gassy and cloudy to the fire coming through and being clean again, it's a really nice visual. It is a little bit of a lazy resolution, I think. Luke took the Doctor's place and blew up the Sontarans. So, of course, the Doctor, because the Sontarans are going to, basically destroy the Earth now, no matter what, he decides that he has to go up there and destroy them, but he's probably going to end up dying too because he has to be on the ship to destroy them. Of course he does. That's how it always is. But Luke ends up kind of, having his comeuppance and swaps with the Doctor, and he's the one who sacrifices himself. And I think that is a really good moment. It's a great kind of redeeming thing for Luke in a way. I mean, he's been a dick and an asshole this whole time, but the fact that in the end he saves the Doctor, he saves the planet and sacrifices himself, I think is a great end to him. And I love the scene where, of course, all the Sontarans are celebrating, they're doing their Sontar Ha, and then Luke swaps ways with the Doctor and he just goes Sontar Ha and then presses the button. I think it's a great scene. So there we have it. That is the Sontaran Stratagem and the Poison Sky. A rating out of 10 for this one, I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. I think this is a okay story. It's a good story. It's enjoyable to watch. The pacing's relatively good throughout. There's a lot going on here that's interesting, that's good. It's nice to have Martha back, and it's nice to see Unit for the first time in New Who as well. That's always very nice to see. First time seeing the Sontarans. They're pretty good on the most part, but there are quite a few things here that I'm not a big fan of. Like I mentioned, with the whole three-finger thing not making a whole lot of sense. The resolution to at least the gas being a little bit boring. Some things that just don't really work or feel a little bit lazy. But other than that, it's fairly enjoyable to watch. So a 7.5 out of 10. But anyway, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video.